And so my story, and I think what my daughter has taught me and what God is revealing to me through me is that despite what may be going on in your life, you can choose to have faith. You can choose to live from your wholeness. You can find the beauty in anything. And that is what creates the transformation and the life that we're seeking, and the peace and the love and the joy.
Hey, Women Thrive Summit is just around the corner, and what I want you to do is go ahead and save your spot for this transformational event of the year. This is where women gather every single year for transformation, inspiration, and also amazing networking opportunities. Women Thrive Summit is going to be running for an entire week virtually but live, so that means you can join from anywhere in the world. And we've got some amazing speakers lined up for you this year. So go ahead and save your spot and don't miss this opportunity to be part of this amazing transformational event where you get to network, get to be inspired, motivated, and truly grow in business and life. My name is Ramonda Jan, and I am the founder of the Women Thrive Media, and together we bring you the platform to inspire you, motivate you, and shine a spotlight on all that you do. So come and meet us, come and network with amazing women, and access some opportunities that you may not otherwise be able to do. So go ahead, save your spot, and share it with another woman who you know needs to be there. Welcome to Women Thrive Season 5. This season, you can expect incredible conversations with women from all around the world. We at Women Thrive, not only do we put on incredible conversations with women, host events, retreats, publish a magazine, publish books, and we have created a platform for every woman to shine and share her message. So you right now tapping into a podcast that is globally recognized as the place for women to be and share their message. Be inspired, be part of the conversation, and let's thrive together. Hello and welcome to Women Thrive Podcast. My name is Ramonda Jan. I'll be your host for today's interview. Today we're talking about living aligned, reclaiming your truth and inner power. And my lovely guest today is Rosaly. Hi, Rosaly. How are you? Where are you joining from?
Hey, thank you so much. I'm in Los Angeles, Ramonda. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation because I know a lot of our audience are spiritual or they're looking for a bit more of an alignment to their purpose and their passion, or perhaps they are in a place of a pivot in life and they're looking for answers or guidance. So I'm excited to have this conversation today, really of living an aligned life and how to be aligned to your truth and your inner power. And so today's guest, Rosaly Didona, is a source alignment guide and mentor, and she's the founder of the Purifying Place, a spiritual sanctuary dedicated helping women to return to their inner truth, wholeness, and embodied self-trust. Known for her grounded yet deeply intuitive approach, Rosaly guides women out of self-doubt and overwhelm and into a state of clarity, alignment, and divine connection. Really interesting that you do spiritual coaching and energy healing and nervous system attunement. Rosaly, how did you come into doing this work, or what led or brought you into this passion work you're doing?
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. And what led me here was my daughter's birth during COVID at 2020. And she was born extremely premature at 23 weeks, and she was 1.5 pounds. And as a first-time mom, going, at the time I'm a teacher, and so, everything shut down. The schools had to be taught. We had to teach our students from home. And I'm pregnant, and I think, wow, what a great way to have extra time at home, relax, put my feet up, teach from home, even though the world is crumbling, right? And little did I know, shortly after, in March, when everything shut down, my daughter came early in May, and I had spontaneous water break, and I was immediately hospitalized, put on bed rest, and told to stay pregnant for as long as possible. And when something like that huge happens, I didn't see it then, but now I know now. It was a source of expansion, of awakening, of allowing myself to create a new life for me. And the healing really didn't come until afterwards when, I experienced the miracle of my daughter being brought back to life, essentially. The doctor said she had brain bleed, she had a hole in her heart, she was intubated, she couldn't breathe on her own. There were so many different aspects, like she could be blind, that they said were a possibility and that were likely to happen given how early she was born. And at some point, it was even, do we continue with this pregnancy? Because it was so early on. But luckily, once I got in the hospital, I reached about the 23, almost 24 week mark. I was like 23 weeks, 6 days. And it gave me the decision to either abort or continue the pregnancy. And I knew I couldn't live with myself if I didn't. And so I made the decision. I said yes. And the day that I had to leave the hospital after she was born was the worst part. It was leaving your baby behind. You know, as a mother, you're just like, how did that you feel so much guilt and shame and fear. And I still remember it was just the same day after I left to go home. I was just spiraling down into doubt and fear and depression. And a voice that clicked in my head and was like, well, just end your life then. Just end it then if it's that miserable. And that kind of shook me up and woke me up and made me realize I'm feeding into this aspect of the worst possible outcome for myself and for my daughter. And so it really woke me up to take the reins back and take self responsibility and control of my life and do all that I possibly can to create, manifest, alchemize this situation to have the best possible outcome for her. And that same night, I couldn't sleep. I'm tossing, I'm turning. I can't. My husband's snoring. I'm like, how can you sleep? It's something like this terrible that's happening. And I hear the voice of God. I hear the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. I say voice, but it felt like a full knowing and a peace that came to me and told me, Lily will rise from this, just like her name says, Lily Rose. And that was the name that we had picked for her. And in that moment, I felt this deep, unwavering peace and clarity. And I still cry thinking about it to this day because I'm like, what was that? Like, and I was just like, and just as soon as it came, it was gone. And in that moment, I realized with that conscious, now, honestly, in hindsight, I realized with that conscious decision to take back my power, to manifest and create an outcome that is aligned with my highest possible imagination that I want to create in my life, I truly believe I allowed myself to accept help from God, accept help from a higher power. And that mantra became what helped me get through 5 months of being in the NICU and the roller coaster of all of these different things that the doctors were saying. And so my story, and I think what my daughter has taught me and what God is revealing to me through me is that despite what may be going on in your life, you can choose to have faith. You can choose to live from your wholeness. You can find the beauty in anything. And that is what creates the transformation and the life that we're seeking, and the peace and the love and the joy. And I'm here to share that story.
Wow, what a story. Firstly, I have my daughter who's just about to turn 5 months, and it's unimaginable, you have to go through if they're born premature and just the roller coasters, it's just of the emotions. It's bad enough, going through regular, a healthy birth and motherhood and postpartum. It is stressful in itself, but I can't imagine that on top as well. Made me smile because my daughter's name is Maya Rose.
Beautiful.
So we're so close with that, with our daughters' names. So what did you do after, obviously, coming back home and bringing her home? What sparked this work, and how soon did you start doing the work that you do today?
Yeah, great question. It's interesting. Through that process of 5 months, I stayed, I held that mantra in my heart. I allowed that to guide me to live from a place of gratitude,
Mm,
even in a place of hopelessness, being told the statistics of what the outcome would be and deciding not to take that as truth and instead place my truth and my faith and my love in something that's greater than that. Because I basically started speaking to God even more, and I told God, like, if this is really true, God, if you say she will rise from this, just like you said, I will commit my life to knowing you, to knowing who you are. And sure enough, she is completely healthy and whole. You would not recognize anything about her that was different than anybody else. And coming out of that experience, once we brought her home, we're so excited as parents. Like this miracle has happened. Our baby is healthy. She's doing well. She didn't have to be rehospitalized, which was a huge fear of mine as well. And you think miracles create believers. You think miracles create this love and this happy ending. And for me, I was happy and there was still healing left to do.
Mm.
And I realized that moment in time, that 5 months was really a catalyst for me to take ownership over who I am and the healing that I still had left to do. Because I was so focused on healing her and helping her, I didn't realize, everything in our life is a mirror reflecting back to us what's going on within. And to me, it was showing me within what the aspects of myself that were still broken, unhealed, living from conditioning, living from what people expected of me, of my outcome. And it took me, being completely anxious, starting to get intrusive thoughts, not being able to get out of bed to the point where I was like, what is happening to me? Like you kind of get this, and the doctors are like, you're fine. There's nothing wrong in this. So I saw an energy healer, a Reiki healer. And in that healing session, I had a very profound transformation. And I decided that day, I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to training in this energy healing because it has brought me the peace that nobody else has been able to. And it's important for me as someone who's been always been highly sensitive and empathic to finally validate and honor the energy that I feel. And once I learned how to do that, it was just a game changer for me. It changed how I felt in my body. It regulated my nervous system. It brought me back to my body. And shortly after that, I still felt ungrounded. I still felt like, well, what's all this for? And God led me to learn how to spiritual life coach. And I was like, really? Why that? It's like so
Wow.
random. Yeah. And he was like, do spiritual coaching. And I'm like, okay. And I realized now in hindsight, it's the aspect of, heavenly and earthly energies, this balance, this harmonization between mind, body, and soul. And when you can align that with truth, eternal truth, soul truth, then your expression of life is something of joy, of gratitude, of abundance. And that is what truly transforms you from within and creates the lasting peace that I think all of us are looking for. And then we can truly serve from this overflow.
Oh my goodness. And what an interesting journey you had. It's not like, something you intentionally set out. Or was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. It's like really just being led and guided and supported. And when they say this didn't happen to you, it happened for you in a way, you couldn't have predicted that this situation would unfold with your daughter. And it's interesting just hearing you, something that is unimaginable for a mother to experience that, and of course for your daughter, but hearing in your voice the gratitude, right, for what has evolved for you and how you found a way through it with such a grace. That's not a small thing. I know I'm sure you have days, good days and bad days.
Yes. Mhm. Like we all do. Yes.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I think at some point in my life, I thought, oh my gosh, because within, I've always felt this joy, this spark, despite what I've gone through in my life. And my childhood was not easy by any means. And once this happened with my daughter, I thought, God, why am I still being punished? Like I cry thinking about it. I feel like my heart just wanted to help people all my life. And I always prayed for peace for myself, for others. And you're right. Once I could heal and return to my wholeness, I saw it as God positioning me God chose me, God called me, God loves me. And
Mm.
I truly believe that to this day. And I think what has shifted for me is the acceptance of all that is. Because if you are not accepting any aspect of your life yourself, there's resistance to truth, resistance to something that needs to be integrated, that needs to be illuminated. And that can trigger people. That triggered me for sure. I'm like, how could you say I should accept my abuse from my parents? How could you say I should accept my daughter suffering in the NICU? How could you say, because the pain is real. The pain is felt viscerally. And this is not about bypassing or telling people what they should feel or they shouldn't. It's about not escaping from the life that is here and meant to be felt and lived now through your body, through yourself, and realize there's this, despite your physical self, there's an eternal self that's everlasting, that is pure love, unconditional love, and pure acceptance. And when we don't accept full responsibility in our life, we block ourselves from experiencing that. We block ourselves from accepting that we are all that is. We are in connection and unity with all that is. And so we live from this illusion of separation. And that unawareness, that unwillingness to accept suffering is what creates the suffering.
Yeah. Oh, powerful, powerful wisdom there. Accept what is. I think when we have had difficult life experiences, a lot of time people wanting to kind of escape it, block it, and it's hard to look back into your painful moments and experiences and say, "This is what created me. This has been my life, and this is what shaped me," and really do the healing work. It's not easy, but I really love the wisdom you sharing through it. It's like, look, that was part of my journey, part of my experience, part of what I've been dealt, but I still choose love. I still choose gratitude and joy. And that's a really beautiful way of sharing it. Now I see why your work or your business is called the Purifying Place. I can see it, but maybe you wanted to shed some light why you chose this name for the work that you do.
That is such a great question. I get chills when you ask me that because once I started training in Reiki, my Reiki level 2 class, my teacher and mentor led us through an Akashic reading.
Hmm.
And I thought, at this point, I was still skeptical of this energy work. I was like, is this really happening? And so I thought, okay, let me just go into it. But as soon as she opened those records, and Akashic records are this record of everything in existence. And so when you go into it, she told us ask a question or seek understanding for whatever it is that you need help with. And at this point, I was very confused. I understood I needed to do, I was listening to my intuition, listening to what God was telling me to do. And once I got into the records, I felt this just uncontrollable, chaotic, frenetic energy. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is really depicting how I've been living my life so far, just kind of chaos and fearful. And so I remembered, oh yes, I have to ask the question. So I asked the question, what am I meant to do with all of this? What is this for? Because I know this is for my own good, but I'm honestly just in survival still at this point, trying to heal myself. And so when that happens, I see two light beings come down on either side of me. They look like just they're in the form of humans, but there's no face, there's nothing. It's just this all this energy and light coming, and they come and they go on either side of me and they tap me on either side of my shoulder. And again, I feel that transcendental love and peace. And I just breathe. I'm like, what again? The contrast between what I just felt of the chaos, the fear, to this love, this peace, undeniable. And they told me, you will start a business and you will call it the Purifying Place. And I said, business. I've never once ever wanted to start a business. And I asked them, at first I thought it was path, and they were like, no, it needs to be place specifically. And I said, okay, it'll be Purifying Place. I didn't even know why at the time. And they told me, you will help guide people through their own challenges, through their own suffering, through whatever it is that they're navigating to the light, to their wholeness, to truth. And and they were gone. They were gone. And as soon as she closed the records, it just felt like this wave of energy again leaving me. And now, after starting, I was like, again, a lot of friction at the beginning because I'm like, I've never started business. I don't know what I'm doing. But I just, again, I remember my commitment and promise to God, and I can't deny it. I have to answer the call from my heart and my soul. And so, sure enough, I've started my business, and now that I'm helping people and clients and speaking, it's another thing God has told me to do: speak your story, share your truth. And I'm realizing the purification happens. The place that they spoke of is within your heart, and it's also an awareness. It's a state of consciousness. It's being able to understand and perceive the truth of who you are. And when you can tap into that awareness, tap into that consciousness, into that place, it purifies you from within. You're allowing yourself to receive this energy that is going to illuminate and start to move and dislodge things from within. And what I do is help hold that space for people, and not in a way to do it for them, but to teach them that they can do it too, that they are a part of this unity consciousness, this oneness
Mm.
that has always been a part of them. And I just help them tap into the awareness of that and reclaim what is already theirs.
Oh, I
And
love that.
that's what I'm in here to do.
Yeah. I love that. I love how gently you're, even explaining it in how you guide people, because, sometimes ego can get in the way of
Mm,
ourselves. But I really love the way you describe it. It's like, look, it's just not about me. I'm just merely here to facilitate and bring you back to your awareness, and I truly believe the same things were that we all have abilities to have that higher consciousness, ability to heal ourselves and have certain awareness around just why we're here. But sometimes I think we don't quiet our mind enough or slow down and pause and inquire, perhaps, or have a practice where that wisdom allows us to, or it allows us to download that wisdom. So sometimes we just need that guidance and support. Have you, do you currently work with people who have particular challenges, or do you find that people find you through speaking and the work you're doing? And sometimes it's really divine intervention, or are you quite intentional about the people that you work with?
yeah. I think I've just started to share my message, and there's a lot that went into be showing up more visible,
Yeah.
to truly share what's on my heart. And I thought, like many of us in like the spiritual community are like, oh my gosh, people who know me in real life or who've known me my whole life are probably gonna think, has she gone crazy? Because when you talk about things this way, it can either people are either really interested, like, whoa, that's so cool, and like I want to learn more. And there are some people who are kind of like, that's woo crazy. Don't talk to me about that. And there's this resistance, but there's always been this fear of showing up as authentically as myself. And I realized once I did it, there were more people who loved and accepted it than the people that didn't. And regardless of if they accepted it or not, I know I have a responsibility to answer my call. And
Mm.
I think the women that I serve also feel that in their hearts. They know there's something that's misaligned. They know they're meant to share something that their soul came here to do. And they're either making steps towards it, but there's still some blockages or fears that are holding them back from really showing up fully expressed and authentic. And when we can help alchemize that, when we can help integrate those shadows, illuminate the wholeness, they become powerful. They become unstoppable, unshakable. And this doesn't mean that nothing bad ever happens. It just means like, with the experience with my daughter in the NICU, whenever something does arise, you can navigate through it because you're not identifying with lack, with fear, with untruths and illusion. And you have the perception and awareness that's going to anchor you into something that is everlasting, that is true, that is sustainable, and source giving. That's life giving, not something that's going to drain your energy. And I think once people experience that, and throughout your life, there are experiences and lessons that are going to, we're all evolving in a sense to oneness, to recognize and be aware of our oneness. And I think when people find me or when we find each other and there's this synchronization, and it's just meant to speed up that process and hold that space. And there's so much that comes of it. And it's so exciting and so fun. I just really enjoy it because, you know, going through this work myself, I feel like there was a lot of it that was done alone.
Yeah.
And that's also part of my human design type as a hermit and as a role model. That's like in the phases, which again I didn't know, but now I do. Which again, you're putting the pieces together of why this all makes sense. And I'm really just here to help support people and guide them.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love that. I truly believe that. And I always have this thought of whoever is meant to be part of your journey or come on and let's say work with you or be part of a specific program, they will be, right? And I never try to force things or, go against whatever is unraveling because I know it's for the greater good of whatever is meant to happen. So kind of I do my part and then I let it go. I do my part
Yeah.
and just allow whatever else is meant to be because there's sometimes people meant to be part of your journey or meant to be working with you to learn their lessons. Sometimes people drop off naturally as well. That's what I find. And sometimes people come into our community and they just naturally drop off after a small period of time. And it's because maybe it wasn't meant to be or it wasn't part of their alignment. And sometimes you just have to hold that faith and trust and just say, hey, whatever's meant to be will be.
I love that you said that. That is so true. And I think a lot of people, myself included, when they start this healing journey and they deepen into it, there are relationships and people that are no longer resonating with who you are. And so I think when I help them become more visible or more authentic, a lot of the time there's that fear of being misunderstood, of not receiving the love and relationships ending. A lot of them are worried, like, what if my husband thinks this is weird and wants to leave me? Or what if, my family doesn't accept me? And that is a huge fear as a human being, as, people who grew up in tribes, wanting to belong, wanting to feel safe, this sense of survival is at stake. And when we can help them realize what's meant to be is meant to be and accept it, because I've seen in my own life, you want the love and acceptance from specific people, and meanwhile, you're not identifying any of the love or acknowledgement you receive from thousands or hundreds of others, right? So it's this lack mentality again. And when you can overcome and move through that, you recognize you've been blessed all along. You've
Yeah.
been loved all along.
Yeah. You will be sharing a little bit more about your work and your message during the Women Thrive Summit in March. Tell me a little bit more. What can people expect if they do attend your talk?
Yes, my talk at the Women Thrive Summit next month is From Survival to Sanctuary. And I'm really there to share this light with people and help them recognize their light from within, that they don't have to live in survival. They don't have to live in scarcity. They don't have to live in fear anymore. And that doesn't mean it will never come up, although they won't identify with it. And from survival to sanctuary really means you move from this aspect of living your life from fear, from conditioning, from unawareness to something that is sourced from within, which is your heart, your soul, that is in connection with divine. And that's where you receive the guidance, the messages. And knowing how to live from that purifying place within is what creates this sanctuary of feeling truly loved, accepted, and joyous in your life. And being able to live from that place to create the meaningful impact that many of the women that come to me who have this desire in their hearts to express can actually do now without feeling like they're stuck or they don't know what to do. It's this full self trust and surrender to this journey of life that they're meant to express on this world, at this planet, on this planet, at this time. And just experience the fun and joy of that. Because I think we talk about all this stuff and it can be deep and it can be like alchemy and shadow work. And I think I've come to this point in my healing journey where there's this peace, there's this love, there's this joy, there's this funness. And I read this quote recently that was like, healing or your final stage of healing is returning to being like a child.
Yeah.
And I realized it's so true as children. We were just talking about our children, like how you said your daughter's like, knock on the door, like, I'm home. And just, they're so unapologetically themselves. They're so fully expressive, full of light and love, and they just want to give. And it's so beautiful to watch. And I think, this is our return home as well. This is our return to our truth. And when people come into contact and frequency with that, they can feel it. And that vibrant energy, that vibration is what creates the ripple lasting effect in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm here to share.
I love it because when you share, when you speak, it sounds so effortless. And for some, the language that you're using might come across like, I don't understand this, a bit woo-woo. And for some people will be really returning home, as you say, they feel really safe and held in your presence. And what I see is like you speaking your truth. You know, when you're speaking your truth in your authenticity, this is what truly comes through you without you even trying, if that makes sense. And the funny thing is, like, it sounds like you weren't really, you know, I don't know, this way prior to this incident, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But now it really comes through you really, really effortless. And it's so interesting. And on the
Yeah.
fun thing, it's like, yes. And like what I've experienced is that spirit has a sense of humor.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
When I observe and when I ask questions or I interact with like a spirit and that, I don't know, the unseen world, sometimes it really does have a sense of humor. I'm like, are you serious? And so sometimes it's just like, don't take it so seriously, but enjoy it. It is an energy, it is fun, it is coming back to that place of authenticity. And it doesn't have to be so serious, yet feel divinely beautiful and light and purifying from the inside. So I can already imagine just what your session is going to be like. I think it's going to be incredible and just a really safe space for women to be held in.
Yes. I love that. Yeah. It's it's interesting too, because when you, like you said, the fun, like the silliness comes up because once you've kind of zoomed out in your awareness, you can see there's the paradox of life, all the paradoxes of life, like, oh, they're doing this, but they want this. And it's like, it's not to make fun of people's suffering, but it's also to realize like how, we're the earth is this tiny in this huge, vast universe. And sometimes we over identify with the smallest little speck, right? And when we gain this awareness, it makes us really acknowledge the beauty and the humor of it all because it's true. I feel that as well. And I think living from that joy is what helps wake people up too, because there's enough suffering and heaviness and darkness in the world. And so I really appreciate your compliment too about, yes, after my daughter's birth, showing up authentically as who I am now, because sometimes the people who show up unapologetically, authentically, with full force energy are not always spreading the message that we need to hear, like the news and like, all these kinds of
Mm.
things. So I think working with women leaders, heart-led leaders, people who have this call to answer, it's to show them that you can do that too. You have a responsibility to show up powerfully, authentically, and express whatever is meant for you to express and allow that to change the world and realize you can do that. And it's hard when you've been conditioned to be a certain way for so long. But once you access that, you're right, it becomes effortless. And we want effortless. We want to be able to express who we are authentically, joyously, without having to follow a script or be afraid of what people will think. And that has a lot of power and energy that helps illuminate the world. And so thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
I'm excited for our audience to hang out with you more. I mean, this has been amazing. We're gone just over time now. How do people get connected with you if they wanted to explore your world and just maybe get in touch?
Yeah. They can find me at the Purifying Place on Instagram, also thepurifyingplace.com, and I'm also on YouTube at the Purifying Place.
Amazing. What's your favorite social media platform?
I love Instagram and I also love YouTube because I just love to talk about these ideas and these teachings. And I think YouTube is just a great way to hit record and start serving and helping people with this work
Mm.
because it's not just like a one-time fix and you're done. It's a journey and a process. And I think YouTube allows that avenue and that space to really dive deep.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, do make sure you connect with Rosaly on her social media platforms and her website, thepurifyingplace.com. All the notes will be in the show notes below. So scroll down, you'll find everything there. And of course, if you feel called to, if you want to spend a little bit more time with Rosaly during the Women Thrive Summit, do make sure you register for your spot and attend her talk, which I believe will be on Wednesday,
March
right?
19th.
Yeah, March 18th. Oh my goodness, this has been so wonderful, and I hope you truly enjoyed listening to this podcast episode. Do make sure you share it with some of your friends if you know that somebody needs to hear this, or you never know, just hit share it to your social media followers. Somebody, no doubt, will find value and healing in this conversation today. Thank you to my lovely guests today for sharing your heart and your
Armando.
soul. I truly enjoyed this conversation, and I know we're going to have a lot of fun during the Women Thrive Summit.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great to have you all here for today's podcast episode. Tune into all the other episodes that we have streaming every week, twice a week, and we look forward to seeing you another time. Take care for now. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Women Thrive Podcast. I'm so thankful for you as a listener for spending time with us, myself and my co-host Abigail, to hear our conversations with our guests. If you have had the opportunity to hear our podcast, do make sure you leave a review and share this episode with your audience as well. This has helped us reach the 5 top percent globally ranked podcast, as well as reach more than 30,000 downloads to date. Your support means so much to us, and this is how we get to reach more people around the world. At Women Thrive Media, we're here to amplify voices of women and empower women to take the center stage and shine a spotlight on their messages.